So this is a large scale solution to a very serious problem. So as you can see here, and this whole video will be posted up so you can see the whole thing. But as you can see here, he used multiple milk crates because he's got a huge one in a pool. But in his hand, you can see he has one milk crate filled with, various, that could be milk cartons, juice cartons, whatever. They're plastic. They're empty, so there's air in there. And then on top of it, he has an empty milk crate. So this is for a large garden, obviously. You're going to do a small scale model. Okay, so the point of this is a real world solution. I mean, we live in Houston. We're not strangers to flooding. Some areas flood a lot. And how do you farm crops and not have them get destroyed if flooding occurs? So here's a solution, right? He already has his growing in a pool for various reasons, which you'll see in the video. But this could stand alone. So for instance, he could create this structure and have it standing in, on top of somebody's lawn, or some section of his garden. And then if it floods, the waters will come in and the whole thing will raise up and float on top of the water. And this way, the crops that are being grown do not get destroyed. So you're going to make a small scale model. So, if you were to take his idea, you could get 2 milk crates and put one filled with your milk containers or whatever, and then the other one empty on top of it, tie them together with zip ties and put them in your tub. Fill your tub up and watch, videotape it floating up to the top. Like, okay, my tub flooded, but my garden's fine, right? Or where my garden would be is fine. Or whatever idea you come up with. You can do this in your kitchen sink. The bottom line is to create a structure that when water is introduced in a flooding type scenario, the garden itself will float on the water and not be destroyed. That is your challenge. It's a real world challenge. So let's see what you can come up with this week.
Hi, Nick here. Welcome to my backyard. This is an attempt to modify a regular chlorinated swimming pool into a natural swimming pool. I'm involved in a low carbon lifestyle documentary, and part of it is doing something about our resource hungry pool. We're experimenting with the idea of using milk crates to create a floating garden natural swimming pool. I decided on milk crates because I think they're quite modular and they rig together really well, they're strong, and they'll last a really long time. Obviously I've used milk crates, they've all been sourced as ethically as possible. So going to places like thrift shops and bottle recycle centres, and they often end up with a lot. They also house the milk cartons for buoyancy really well, and it's easy to calculate volume across multiple milk crates. So making a plunge pool area to swim in really, and the rest will be garden, and tempted to use milk crates full of bottles to create not only a platform but the buoyancy. Each crate has about 9 milk bottles with a couple of other smaller bottles wedged in like that. And it just makes a very even floating surface. If you do that, you just see it floats really nicely. And then I've joined them together with zip ties around the edges here. Each milk crate is connected by 14 7.6mm zip ties. So in theory, that should be more than enough strength to hold the structure together. Seems to be pretty structurally sound. If I get on it, it's reasonably solid. We also have this end exposed, which is for a couple of reasons. Probably do some deeper plants here, do them in pots and things so they can come out and potentially, if we have kids over, they can swim in there. And that's a shallow end. It also still gives me access to the original filter if I really need to suck out some debris or something. A benefit of this design is that it's completely reversible, so we or anyone else in the future could return it to a conventional pool. So just up to the plumbing stage now, and using a whole lot of perforated pipe in this longer section that will come out through here, and then using a a bubble filter, taking a leaf out of David Pagan Butler's Natural Pool Enthusiasm on YouTube, and running a bubble filter up, which should hopefully draw water from this back section. And then the same over here, another loop, and then coming into another bubble filter section here. And then a third bubble filter section. So this is a surface skimmer here, and that's duplicated at the other end over here. And then they both feed into the one T-piece that then this section will connect into. The water will come down, and then using a bubble filter, screw that on, and basically the bubbles created should draw the water up through this pipe. Particularly being a narrower pipe, I thought it might add a little extra suction, and filter out the water at the top here, and then that will be raised above the water line, where I will try and catch the leaves and other debris using Hessian bag and another crate. So I've also added some weed mat over the edge of the bottom section. Two reasons. One, for right now, it keeps the bottles out of the sun. I really don't want them to deteriorate, given that the whole thing is dependent on those bottles holding air. And it also aesthetically, hopefully, just gets lost more in the shadows, the actual structure that the garden sits on. Although I am contemplating adding some rigged on pot plants that could just be clipped onto the edges here, and then you could do plants to really just hide any edge. So I want to have a bit of a backup plan for this, and that is to make it an aquaponic setup if this fails. And actually, if that fails, cover the whole thing in crates and do just a floating garden / rainwater tank combo. I'm a bit worried about the nutrients already in this water. A lot of leaves have fallen from the tree up there, and yeah, this water's just probably quite nutrient dense. And if I understand things correctly, for a natural pool, it's got to be nutrient deficient water, and if it's aquaponics, it's got to be nutrient dense water. So I'm not sure the two can coexist, although I'd love if they could coexist. I don't mind swimming with fish, so that would be fine. I'm just not sure that can work. If anyone's got any ideas, please let me know. So I'll post updates on how this experiment plays out, so stay tuned.